filmmaker, I would safely say a man with the creative spark. Kieran joins me on the set, and just a little taste. Of course, being a director, filmmaker, it's really telling the story, telling stories, and that's really what they do with their equipment and, of course, with their particular vision. And there's a motto. He says, just get it done. That's the theme the man lives by, and you got it done, and you continue to get it done.
Thank you so much for having me, bro. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure, because a man of your particular international reach and the kind of folks you would have worked with over the years, I go back to that opening of telling the story. Yes, you'll have the equipment and all the technology readily available, but it's really about the director's eye and being able to now tell that story in a unique way. When you found out, at what point you recognized you had that ability and talent?
When I was given the opportunity, I fell in love with it. I mean, like many others, I've had a lot of careers prior to this. So,
like what sort?
Selling chocolate. Putting flyers up around the neighborhood. I worked in collections. I worked at shipping and receiving, steel factory. A lot of office administrative jobs. And then this came about. There's a company in Trinidad called Lime.tt. As a colleague of mine, and I loved how they showcase the Caribbean culture. But we never had anything like that in Canada. We had like a lot of videographers, but not a company devoted to Caribbean talent, content. And he said, well, why don't you open the franchise over there? And we launched it, and I started doing nightclubs and festivals, and we couldn't afford staffing. So because of the currency exchange, so if a friend came, if you came to town, or a DJ, I'd be like, yo, could I come shoot? And it just built up into that passion.
Fantastic. So it's really, it happened organically, and you found your voice, found your vision and your talent within it. Amazing. I see you would have worked alongside some really notable artists over the years. I'm seeing the likes of Sean Paul and others. Walk me through that particular intro, that particular navigation, as it were, with some of these top-tier performers.
Well, I met him through his manager, Steve Urchin, and they were performing somewhere in Toronto a day, and they gave me the opportunity to shoot the last 15 minutes of his show. And actually, I went to the con, I edited the content prior to him getting to the hotel. But that came about from seeing Caribbean creators turning around videos so quickly, because I've never seen Americans or Canadians do that. So they were like, could you come to the show tomorrow? And I said, yeah, so I can go to Montreal. And they offered me, they said, we can deal with your accommodation or we can give you a fee. It's a 5-hour drive, and I went and I got to shoot the entire show. And I handed it over to them before I took my 5-hour drive back to Toronto. And then 2 weeks later, on my birthday, August 4th, he invited me to do his world tour that he had upcoming. And that's how that came about, because he's like, I never thought that you can turn around content that quickly based on what they had before. But that kind of, I saw when guys do Carnival in Trinidad, the next day or the morning, there's content out. And that kind of came from, oh, okay, so maybe start editing as soon as you go home. Don't wait the next day. So it kind of inspired me to do that. And the influence has been Dory, a good version of mine, who influenced me to kind of get into the game as well. But
now Dory is also making some major waves. So in terms of this particular project, the Welcome Home video, a song that obviously Caribbean Airlines put out as not only a campaign song, a jingle, as it were, for the carnival, but it was a song that was also bubbling and relevant in the carnival with some major names, Marshall, of course, Assassin out of Jamaica, Voice. How was it working with those personalities and putting all this together?
Well, it was the first time working with any one of them. And this was peak carnival time. So it was tough to get all of them in the room at the same time. And it's a 5-day shoot. So some of the days consisted of 14 hours. Some of the days started at 4:30 in the morning. And they showed up, they got it done. So the work ethics there, I mean, Voice, he was sick, and part of the treatment consists of him jumping in water and staying under there for like a little while and then coming out. So I felt bad about that, but he came and he got it done. Marshall, I'm sure he has a hectic schedule, and there's moments where I saw him sleeping on a table in the corner, and he'll wake up and he's like, okay, cool, let's go. So just seeing that professionalism in them through the busiest time of their career, there's no way that we're complaining about it, but it was a really, really enjoyable moment for my career.
Do you also dabble with the special effects via editing, or you bring in folks to deal with that treatment?
For things that we did in this video, such as the statue breaking apart and so forth, I rely on somebody else for that. I do basic stuff when it comes to VFX, but I would rely on somebody else for that. Yeah.
So you were born in Trinidad, grew up in Guyana, and then went abroad to work. Tell me about that journey. Such an interesting. Is
Well,
that
the opposite.
So you're born in Guyana?
Born in Guyana.
Born in Guyana, grew up in Trinidad.
Yep.
And then went overseas. Tell me about that particular interesting.
So my
journey.
dad used to work for an oil company, and my mom is Guyanese, so she visited my grandmother, and I was premature. So 2 weeks I was born. I stayed in Guyana, then I came over here, got naturalization through my dad. And then we moved throughout the Caribbean, Antigua, St. Martin, finally settled down in the Bronx. So I've experienced my middle school life and my high school life there, and then finally settled in Toronto in 2005.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, well-traveled man.
Yeah.
Great to be back, obviously. What's some other major projects happening for calendar 2023? I know when you head back, I'm sure there must be some stuff bubbling in the pipeline.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm working on a project. It's a pilot that I've been shooting during the COVID. And it's an educational, but making it very cool, where it's a trend that started on Twitter during the pandemic, which was how it started and how it's going. So somebody would put a picture up of how things were, prior to their fame or their success, and then how things are now. But it kind of goes both ways. Some people have bad mismanagement of funds, and their career went the opposite way, or they had bad management or personal issues in their life, affected it. But that's a show that I'm trying to roll out on a major platform, such as like a Hulu or Crave or Netflix or something of that nature.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, keep us posted once it's readily available.
Okay. We'd love to shoot some of that content here too.
That's right.
Yeah.
I know there's a masterclass that's happening. Tell me some details about that.
Well, the masterclass is mainly from my experience shooting in the Caribbean, not in Trinidad alone, but throughout the CARICOM, where there's this huge gap into how can content creators get more recognition, get more monetization. I was speaking to the head of Facebook and Instagram Live long-form video department, and he was saying that they noticed that there's a lot of content coming out of the Caribbean, but it's not being monetized. And they started to encourage me, we should do some conferences or masterclass in the Caribbean to make these, well, not only artists or managers, but influencers, creators, how to get this done. So there's a lot that needs to be learned on the business aspect of it that we just don't have the knowledge of. And that's what this is mainly about. The content creating is there. There's a lot of them who knows how to do that. But then on the business part, there's a lot of gaps.
What I'm happy about is that even though, yes, you would have spent formative years here, you said you moved around, you settled out there in Canada, there is still that connection to the Caribbean. You come back home, you recognize the creative spark and the inspiration of the region. And clearly it's shown in your work, and you continue to make waves with Caribbean icons. I'm seeing that you would have worked alongside the likes of Brew.
Yeah.
You worked alongside Cardi B. How was it for at least working with those two personalities?
Brew has been a peak of my career. This was not, and it's weird because this was not when way after his homecoming. This is like right of his homecoming. So I got a phone call from Baby Sham is the one who actually connected the dot to me. And then he introduced me to a gentleman by the name of Dave Kelly, who I did not know at that point in time, but obviously we know Dave Kelly is a massive influencer in the production world for Buju's early career. And then he introduced me to Buju, and I don't know what he told Buju about me, but when I got down there, the treatment that he gave me was so amazing. So we did this song called Trust. We had a quick turnaround. We did it through Rock Nations. And then, but that was a really big highlight. He's a very animated character. You don't have to direct him at all. You just point the camera and shoot, and he does everything for himself. And then with Cardi B, she was put on to me through Sean Paul's choreographer. So that kind of came through Tanisha Scott. She does a lot in the industry, and working with her since 2019. She doesn't tour as heavy as Sean does. He's a generational artist. He tours year-round. He doesn't need a project. Nor does she, but she mainly tours when there are projects. Yeah. But it's been great working with both of them.
You would say networking is very important in the game?
Extremely important.
Yeah. How high you would put that there? Obviously, yes, the product must be of a certain standard and quality which you're always able to deliver. But based on what you're telling me, it seems to be so many different people just making the connections, and once you're in the space, seems like everything else falls in seamless almost.
Yeah. For me, for instance, I always look for gaps where there's opportunities that I can create. So on the road with these artists, many times someone will look at me as a tour videographer for them. But then through networking around their circles, I'll create opportunities. I can get bookings done for them. I can get brand deals done for them. I can get collaborations with other artists done. And those just come out of creating opportunities for yourself. So as content creators, I feel like when somebody's in that circle, don't just restrict yourself for what you're there for, you know? And it's not saying that you're gonna try to step out of the reason why you're there for, but that's something that can be utilized later on. You know, just get a contact and say, I would like to kind of speak to you later on, and then you take that and you deliver something good. You're not just the one with your hands always out, you know?
Yeah, well said. Outside of the ones mentioned, the Bourgeois, the Sean Pauls, the Cardi B's, who are some other artists here would have worked alongside or plan to work with for calendar year 2023?
I've worked with Nicky Jam in the Latin space, Yendri, J Balvin. Those are individuals who are huge into that space. I've worked with Skilly Bang and Massacre and Skeng. No, not Skeng. Intense.
Intense. Okay.
Busy Signal is another amazing artist in himself. I work with a lot of reggae artists. Toronto artists, we have like TV Gucci, and we have Today. We have like a lot of those guys that I've worked with. And who I would love to kind of work with in the future would be, what's this guy's name again? Ironically, I would love to work with Kanye. I rate him heavy as an individual. We know his history, but I rate him heavy as an artist. And St. John. Okay. He's another artist that I really would like to work with.
How can folks looking on this morning find your work, follow you online, just monitor your different reels and what you're up to?
My website is my name. It's KieranKhan.com. And my social media Instagram is Kieran Khan Productions. And you can even go to either one of those platforms to sign up for the masterclass.
That's right.
Yeah.
Kieran Khan, touching base with us. Any closing remarks as we look to lock things off for this morning?
As I wasn't here yesterday for the show, or I forgot what I was on yesterday. I want to wish a happy Independence Day, International Women's Day, sorry.
Yeah.
To all the ladies. And through my experience, especially during Carnival here, is they hold down the fort. You know, these artists on the road and somebody's there taking care of everything. So I want to wish everybody a happy International Women's Day, and that's pretty much it. Belated, I should say.
Kieran Khan, all the best, man. Great having you this morning.
Thank you so much, man.
And what we'll do